Cynthia Erivo's No Good Deed shook me to my core. I literally started clapping in the theater. After the longest intermission ever, the iconic Witches of Oz return to tell the conclusion to their story in Wicked for Good. Elphaba has become public enemy number one, hiding out while trying to help animals and expose the wizard for the fraud that he is. Meanwhile, Glinda is now the voice of the people, even if that means selling her soul to stay adored. This leads to an undeniably darker and twistier film than the first one, packed with new songs, deep revelations, and tons of tiny details that fans are gonna enjoy. There are spoilers ahead, so you've been warned. Wicked for Good took everything I really enjoyed about the first movie to the next level. There's this beautiful innocence that's shattered as we transition into the story of For Good that finds these two best friends as figureheads on opposing sides in this moral war. The story tackles public image, reputation, deception, disinformation, love, forgiveness, mistakes, and what it really means to put words to action when it comes to the idea of good and wicked. Honestly, this is the type of duology that you could write full dissertations on. There's so much rich material to explore, so much to analyze. Is Fiyera's transformation an allegory for Jesus' crucifixion? And what does it say about rooting for the privileged white woman who could use her power to make things better, but only chooses to do so in a way that makes her look good? Pun intended. This is a movie that I'm excited to watch over and over again just to find those little details and kind of analyze all of these moments that you can really look at in different ways, and I think that's so fascinating. Despite spending so much of this film apart, Elphaba and Glinda's friendship is surprisingly and nearly unrealistically resilient. It manages to outlast the shallow manipulation of a con wizard, fiancé stealing, and even a sister's death. They're better than me. In the first movie, we got to see more of Elphaba's backstory as a kid, and in this movie, we get to see a scene for Glinda and how her heart's desire to be a sorceress has been something that's been with her from a very young age. And even though we know Elphaba is right in this situation, it's easy to see how Glinda is swayed by the illusion of power and magic that the wizard offers her, because this is the first time that she's not been able to just snap her fingers and easily get whatever she wants. Eventually, like her new song, The Girl in the Bubble states, the real world comes in and pops that bubble of naivety that she's been hiding behind. You could argue that she's changed for good from knowing Elphaba, or that she just reaps the benefits of a broken system and only challenges it when she knows it won't cost her anything. It's a really interesting character to explore because of her reputation as being Glinda the Good, and then us getting to see, behind the curtain, so to speak. A lot of it is driven by greed and desire, and she's not as good as it seems. Meanwhile, Elphaba becomes the reluctant villain of Wicked for Good. Honestly, there are moments when you're questioning why she's even bothering to help save this world that doesn't care for her, doesn't accept her, doesn't love her, which Cynthia Erivo explores in her new song No Place Like Home. But once her sister dies, Elphaba breaks. Cynthia Erivo's No Good Deed shook me to my core. I literally started clapping in the theater. As much as I loved the ending of the first movie with Defying Gravity and seeing how that raw energy came out of Cynthia Erivo, both vocally and emotionally, and how they use that to show more of her powers kind of surging through Oz, I think No Good Deed might have been the most powerful musical moment of both films, and becomes a catalyst for her to save Fiyero and finally give into that identity Oz has thrust upon her as the Wicked Witch. One of my favorite changes from the Broadway show was around Nessa Rose. In the musical, Elphaba enchants Nessa's shoes so that she can walk, which makes Spock think that she no longer needs him. And when Nessa's attempt to cast a love spell on him goes wrong, the only way Elphaba can save him is by turning him into a Tin Man. Instead, the film reframes this moment so that Elphaba is enchanting Nessa's shoes to allow her to float. This connects back to a happier time, the first night Bach called her beautiful and she felt like anything was possible. I think that was a really meaningful update that was just a big win for disability representation. And I also think it just made more sense with the story as well. For Good also takes place as Dorothy lands in Oz. This is sort of the act that combines the worlds finally. They're bringing the Wizard of Oz in. Since we already know her story, director John M. Chu, I think, really smartly uses her more as a prop instead of a character. Her face is intentionally obscured. We only see her in shadow or in her iconic gingham dress and shoes. And I think it works well because it allows us to stay focused on Elphaba and Glinda's perspectives. However, I think the choice is not as successful when it comes to Dorothy's friends, who all have played bigger roles in the Wicked movies. The Cowardly Lion, for instance, just felt like a glorified Coleman Domingo cameo. The Scarecrow reveal comes too late. I also think that it looks a little too CGI. I would have liked to see something that looked a little bit more practical. The Tin Man had the best transformation, but despite a bloated runtime, I just felt like there was not enough time given to the supporting cast. The final act of Wicked for Good, though, brings us all the way back to the beginning, literally returning to the opening of No One Mourns the Wicked from the first film. And I just thought this was a brilliantly full circle moment. Glinda is telling the cyclical tale that's about to start over again, a metaphor for how the story will continue being retold across generations. Ugh, just so smart. From their vocals to their acting ability, I think it's very clear that Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande prove once again they were born to play these roles. It is a long movie, but I do think it's worth every second for the little details, those little moments. I do think that they could have taken some of the padding out and actually added a little bit more meat in terms of things for the supporting characters. But all in all, I really think John M. Chu is a genius. I have loved all of his musical adaptations, from In the Heights to Wicked, and I think we're just so lucky to have someone bringing movie musicals to life on screen at this level. I would love to hear your thoughts on Wicked for Good, so make sure to let me know in the comments. Consider subscribing if you like this video and get even more entertainment news at popcultureplanet.com. See ya!